Welcome back to Quick Draw Mods install tutorial video 2. If you didn't watch the video 1 tutorial, video 1 tutorial basically covered everything that you need from the chip, the wire, the resistors for the matrix. It differentiated the differences between the CG board and the matrix board, how to open your controller, where the screws are located, and basic functionality of how the chip functions once it's installed. So this video, I'm going to try to get it all done in 10 minutes, so let's get to it. How to install the chip. First thing you're going to want is your chip, and you want to take note to this notch. You'll see a notch on the top of the chip with the writing of what type of chip it is from Motorola, and it's serial and stuff like that. This is very important because this will, based on the directionality of how the chip is installed, is how well your install will go and if it'll work properly or not. If you wire it upside down or backwards, there is a chance that your controller won't even turn on. So as far as I know, I've installed the chip all 4 different ways: backwards, forwards, upside down, left side up, whatever it may be, and each time I desoldered the chip, the controller has worked fine again. But I cannot guarantee that if you wire it incorrectly that your controller will properly work once you disconnect it. There is a chance that even if you have the chip in a different direction, but you wire something incorrectly, you could send power or misground the chip, and it could harm your controller. So please take caution in reading the diagrams and the install for your chip. So the first thing I want to do is, like I said, is the notch. We want to put the notch upside down. Your chip will probably come with the legs spread out like that for shipping purposes, but we want the notch upside down so that we can't see it, but we want it facing us. So we want the notch, as you can see, the notch is there. We want it facing the bottom of the controller. The notch is at the bottom of the controller, away from the triggers. It's pointing towards you, and we want to install it right by this white clip here. The white clip is what holds the right trigger in place. So we want the notch upside down and facing us, and we want to hot glue it right here. So let's get our hot glue gun out. Put a generous amount of hot glue on the board. And let's get our chip glued down. Okay. Be careful with bending the legs. You might want to bend the legs to make the install easier. I like to take caution bending the legs, but I find it easier to bend the legs a certain way. This really doesn't matter. It's all on how you're comfortable soldering, but this will also help with the install in terms of the tutorial. I'm just going to re-glue the chip down again. Like I said, be generous with the hot glue so that your chip is secure. Might want to give it a few seconds. Next thing I like to do is I like to just coat the pins with a little bit of solder. Now, if you look at the chip, the notch is facing you and underneath, and it's pointing away from the bottom of the controller. So the notch should be right here. You should only see the belly of the chip with the circle imprint on it. And we're going to be working with the 7 mode. You're going to be working with the bottom 2 pins on the left-hand side here, and all 4 pins on the right-hand side. Now on a 3 mode, you're only going to work with 3 of these pins. Like I said, the 1 pin you'll see from the diagram will go over to this left trigger. You're not going to need it. So first wire we're going to install is the LED wire. I find that the most difficult. Well, not the most difficult, but it is a difficult wire to install because you have to solder it to the side of the LED without burning or breaking the LED. It does take some time to burn or break it, but we still want to be quick and efficient about it. So kind of just line your wire up with the side of the LED. And that's it, it's on there. I like to hold the wire over here. Just kind of take my knife and pull it down so that the wire tucks itself behind the controller. Next wire is the power wire on the CG. It goes right underneath the LED leg. And there's two solder points here. You only want to use the one that's circled in the diagram, which would be the first one right underneath the C16. So line your wire up and just kind of get it to stick. It's on. You can kind of fold your wire away. I'm going to go a little quicker. I don't want to break the 10-minute mark on this video. So next is the ground. It goes on the pin right across. Ground point is by itself. It's pretty easy to solder to. I like to make the next wire really, really short. It doesn't have to go far. Now, of course, on a matrix controller, there'll be resistors, but we'll get to that in another video. I use tweezers. I find it's a little bit more accurate. If your wire is a little longer, you could just use your fingers. I also like the tweezers because once it's on there, you can kind of tug on it. Tug on it. Make sure it's secure. Next wire is the left trigger. I like to bend the wire down, go underneath the board with it behind the two rumble motors, and then back up, kind of get the wire lined up with that center soldering point for the left trigger. I'm going to solder it and then I'll show it to you. It's kind of hard for me to work and not get in the way. And it's soldered to that point there. Okay, this last wire is the hardest wire. I'm running a little short on time, so we got a minute. I'm going to do a third video for the ending of this install, but I just want to point out that there's 3 solder points underneath this sync button. You could probably see them. You want to solder to the center one. So, and then of course it goes to the chip over here. So we're going to go from here to here, and it's a pretty difficult wire to do. So I'm going to end the video here, and I'll start a third tutorial. We'll finish the soldering point, and then we'll do a reassembly on how everything else goes together. Talk a little bit more about the chip itself and functionality. So again, we want to solder to this center soldering point, and I'll end the video here. Check out tutorial 3.